We are here at the Western Conservative Summit talking to some great folks from all over the country about conservative values, principles, what we're going to do to win elections again, especially here in Colorado. And James and I have known each other for quite a while. James, you were very helpful on our campaign for governor. What are you up to now?
Well, not a lot. I'm just trying to help out in the best way I can. I've been working on the Aurora City Council races, some of these municipal elections, school boards, in my position as chairman of the Colorado High School Republicans.
I so appreciate you taking on that role because, obviously young people are very important to rebuilding the conservative movement. What are you hearing from people, Republicans across Colorado that are in high school? What do they care about right now?
Well, when you look at how unaffordable Colorado is, you can't buy a house, you can't afford college, you can't afford gas, and these students are really, really concerned about that. Because if you can't afford to go to college, you can't afford to get a job, you can't afford to start a family, why wouldn't you prefer socialism? Why wouldn't you prefer to just have everything handed to you? Because, think about it. All these kids are going out into the workforce with no money, no experience, and no family, no structure. So they are just expected to have everything handed to them because they can't build it themselves because there's too many roadblocks in place.
Have young conservatives, have they lost hope? Do they feel like things are turning? What's the sentiment out there?
Well, there's this joke where it's you're having like a doom mindset, like everything's going to crap. And I think that's where a lot of kids are headed, but there's a lot of people on the flip side of that are thinking that the pendulum's going to start swinging the other way, but we can't do that without putting the work in. So I think it's about 50-50.
Yeah, what does putting the work in look like for you as the head of high school Republicans in Colorado?
Well, it really means working with people like Weston, who was on earlier, and the Youth Advisory Council with the RNC, because the GOP is a dying breed, really. There's been a lot of people that have been saying that we really need to start focusing on issues that are going to help students, start a family, get into college, get a job. If we can't do that, then nothing else is really going to matter to them. So we need to start focusing on policies and running candidates who can talk about those issues like you did.
Yeah, we tried kids, crime, cost of living, but the Democrat machine is huge, and it includes the liberal media, and they just drown us out so that we can't or they define the issues they want us to be defined by. How do we combat that with young people? I know we can be on social media and do our best to get through, but how do we get through our messages?
Well, just like the media, we also have the exact same thing in the school boards. The school boards are bought and paid for by the liberal agenda. They're the ones who are promoting all this in the schools. These are the people who are, saying good things about Karl Marx and good things about Joseph Stalin. And they're not the ones who are teaching kids how to pay their taxes, how to get into college. So the biggest thing is we need to get on school boards, go to your school board meetings, and tell them what you think. Because even if they have the entire industrial complex of the education system, you can still fight back by making your voice heard and then publicizing it on social media.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple dozen school board races this year in Colorado that people can get involved with, right?
Yes.
And that's a great way for young people to get started in politics, work on a school board race. They are pretty brutal.
Yeah, 100%. It is a really good, microcosm of the political experience because there's less infighting within. There's more infighting within local groups, but there's less outside attention. So if you want to get involved, I would say that's where you got to start, is on a school board race.
James, what surprised you about working on the governor's race? Good, bad, ugly, whatever.
Well, I would say the biggest surprise is how much enthusiasm we had compared to Jared Polis. I don't even think he held a single rally, did he?
I don't
think so. And if he did, there were not a ton of people at his events. And at the same time, all these people were still coming out to vote for him. I just don't understand how they could have no enthusiasm for their candidate and yet still vote in such wide margins. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. It felt very different on the ground than the results did.
Absolutely.
And people were so excited all over Colorado and coming to rallies and getting involved. And it's, we've got to figure out that formula.
Yeah.
What are some last words of wisdom you have for the Republican Party in Colorado to re-engage with young people?
Well, I think we need to start working with groups like my own and groups like the College Republicans to go to campuses and give them more ideas. Because the only people who are going out on the field are the Democrat organizers who are getting paid in huge sums of money for the DNC to do this. The RNC needs to stop focusing money on press events and private fundraisers, and they need to start focusing on getting people on the ground to talk these issues.
Well, I would love to do an Unleashed tour around high schools and colleges across the state, so maybe you can help me do that.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, James, for all you do. I really appreciate your efforts, and I can't wait to see what you do going forward.
Thank you, Heidi.
Weston, we've known each other a long time. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Heidi. I really appreciate it. It's good to be here with you.
It is good to be here, and it's so fun to be reconnected with everybody. There's such a good energy.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what you're up to. You've done so many things in the conservative movement, and tell people how young you were when you started.
Yeah, so I started off at the young age of 12, as you know, on the Trump campaign in Jefferson County. I was the co-chair for his campaign, and it's just been uphill from there, just thing after thing. So helped out on governor's races, congressional races, legislative races. Most recently, my mom ran for Congress, as you know, in the same cycle as you.
Yep.
And unfortunately, we lost as well. So, but it
was a rough
tough
year
results.
for conservatives in Colorado.
It really was. I mean, I think I know what the answer is, but it's going to take a while to get to it.
What do you think the answer is?
Well, I mean, realistically, the Hispanic vote, as you know, is growing exponentially in Colorado, and we have got to target those voters because inherently they have our values as conservatives, and we need to capitalize on that. And we have not done a good job of that as a party, so I hope that we can start making up some of this lost ground because we got to do something to stop the radical left from making Colorado California.
Yeah,
so.
I agree. Also, another important voting bloc are young people.
Yes.
And you're very involved in helping us there. Tell us a bit about what you're up to.
So, yeah, I recently was appointed to the Republican National Committee's Youth Advisory Council. It's about 20 Gen Z and millennial activist strategists, contributors, and influencers from around the country. Notable names other than myself, which I'm not very notable, but we've got CJ Pearson, Riley Gaines, Brylan Holohan, the creator of the Truth Gazette, the conservative newspaper, and several others from around the country. We've got state representatives from Florida and Virginia and so on and so forth. And we are laser focused on helping the RNC engage the youth, capture the youth vote, and make sure that we have support from the youth going into 2024 and the subsequent elections after that.
I just saw an interesting study, and I hope I get the stats right, but that more young people are identifying as socially conservative?
Yes, that was recent polling that just came out. We actually had the jump on it because the polling company that was releasing those results, one of their employees sits on the council. And so I was on the meeting last month. We were talking about how the youth are generally gravitating towards the conservative right and how the youth doesn't care about social issues. And that was the point I made. And they said, well, yeah, we've got polling that we just did to back all this up. The youth doesn't care about these social issues. They care about the economic issues. And so that's something we're focusing on as well. But Gen Z is the most conservative generation since World War II. And we are losing ground quickly, even though they are gravitating towards us. And we have got to do everything we can to capture them while they're interested and keep them on the conservative base.
Yeah, I agree. Weston, tell me about Bank the Vote.
Yeah, so the RNC just rolled out this week, as a matter of fact, Bank Your Vote. So visit bankyourvote.com and secureyourvote.com for more info. But the goal of this is the RNC's election integrity and ballot harvesting and ballot chasing initiative. So the RNC has heard the concerns, they have seen the fraud, and they are answering it with a program, and this is rolling out nationwide. The goal is to encourage early absentee and early voting across the country. So statistically speaking, the Republican base, we are losing in early vote categories. So the Democrats are great at getting out their early vote campaigns, as you know, and the Republicans, we are staunch on voting on Election Day. And while we are great at that, we don't have enough people able to vote on Election Day to counteract all of those votes that the Democrats have lined up weeks and months in advance of Election Day via mail-in and absentee ballots. So the goal of this program is to encourage you to, as soon as you get your ballot, turn it in. And we're going to be hitting everybody with digital ads, mailers, door knocks, phone calls, text messages, you name it. We are reaching out almost over 35 times per voter to encourage you to get out your vote and encourage you to vote conservative.
But what do you say to people who feel like there's shenanigans between the time, when you vote by mail until Election Day, and there was a big push to vote on Election Day?
Yeah.
How do you address those concerns?
Well, there's a couple different things that go into it. For one, it is important to note, and I personally did not know this until the council meeting last month, but the Republican National Committee itself had been embargoed from any type of Election Day poll watching and poll working type activities for 40 years until 2022. And in 2022, when the embargo ended, it was from a federal judge, and I don't know the full story.
What the heck?
Yeah, it blew my mind too. And I don't know why we weren't talking about it before this Youth Advisory
Right.
Council meeting. It just made no sense. But what happened is in 2022, the embargo was lifted. We had the largest election integrity and poll working operation in American history. We had over 80,000 poll watchers and poll workers across the country in 2022, ensuring that votes were secure. And then we also had lawsuits backing that up with a great team of America First constitutional lawyers. And the goal for 2024 and going forward is to embolden that, supercharge it and make it double, if not triple, the size of what it was in 2022. So to those folks that say, hey, if I turn my ballot in, they have more chance to change my vote, we're going to ensure that that doesn't happen by having conservatives in the room to watch that vote counting happen day by day by day. And they count your vote immediately when it comes in. They count all those mail-in ballots. So we'll see the return rates, and we'll know a better chance of if we're going to win. And we'll be able to do just like the Democrats legally, where possible, to counteract that by going out and getting more votes.
Right.
And so I get the concern with voting on Election Day. I understand it. I hear it. I've been the same way. I voted on Election Day every time that I've been able to vote since I turned 18, because now I'm 19. I'll be 20 in November. And I hear the concerns, but I do think that the numbers don't lie and the strategy is sound. And I think that we have a mission that we have to accomplish.
Well, thanks, Weston. Do you have any last-minute words of wisdom, a truth, a lie, something you want people to know about what's happening in politics right now?
Yeah, so on the subject of Gen Z, and Isabel Brown touched on this yesterday in her speech, and Isabel and I have known each other just as long as I've known you, and she's a really good friend, and she really hit the nail on the head when talking about the youth, that we have got to make sure that the youth are treated with the same respect that you would give an older colleague, because it's something I'm coming up against every day in my career, have since I was 12, is that because I'm so young, I'm not taken seriously, or my thoughts and opinions are discounted, or they're just completely ignored, or I'm told that I'm cocky and arrogant and abrasive. And we have got to make sure that these Gen Z conservatives that are coming into our country and into conservative politics, they're getting pushed out by these older generations that refuse to hear from a younger population. And so we've got to really change the cultural narrative there and make sure that we include those voices, because we are knowledgeable, we are strategic, and in many cases we have a prodigy-like sense of politics. And we have to make sure that we respect each other and don't cause more infighting than we already have.
Yeah, we don't need any more of that.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, Weston. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the work you're doing.
Well, thank you.
And I'm excited to see what you do in the future.
Well, likewise, thank you for staying involved. I mean, it's refreshing to see somebody else, not my mom and I, staying in politics after you're dealt a bad set of cards. So thank you for everything
I'm
you do.
in this for the long game. I have a country to save. We all do.
Yep.
And I have 4 kids that I want to live in a prosperous, free America.
Exactly. Well, thank you,
Thank you.
Heidi.